So hello everyone, we are venturing into the live streaming world. Hopefully we can give you some tips today ahead of the GW1 deadline on Friday. We're both going to go through our teams and the talking points from the Community Shield. Just to introduce ourselves, we are the Premium FPL podcast, so at premium_FPL on Twitter. My name is Callum, as you can see on the icon below, and Mindy is here as always with his positivity as we look to head to the new season. So good evening, Mindy.
Yeah, no, I am positive. Like nothing's ground me down yet, so I am positive until game week 1 starts. I'm positive, not COVID positive, no. just normal positive. Should we rattle through some admin?
Yep.
So it's Monday. For people who might be listening back to this on the podcast, it's Monday evening, 7:00. Just in case we miss any breaking transfer news like we did last week. Ings signed and Grealish signed like 10 minutes after we finished recording, which was ideal. And the Twitter handle is at premium_FPL. Please follow us. And we're at premium_FPL on Instagram as well. And yeah, this is live on YouTube, so follow us on there. And I think that's it for admin. Should we? What was your rank last season? Get yourself a little plug there.
So finished inside the top 5k again. I think it was 4,600 and something in the end. So that's 2 years on the bounce. We know how hard this game is now. Over 8 million players last year, so really buzzing with that. Hopefully your tips kind of rubbed off with me last year. That's the reason for such a high rank. So more of the same, please. Give us the noggins.
Well, that was your second very similar rank in a row, though, wasn't it? Did you? Because what was your rank the season before? It was quite similar, right?
Yeah, so that was 4,000 as well. Yeah, so 4,000 place finishes, which is good.
So yeah, I'd like to give the podcast the credit and take some credit, but if you've done it twice in a row, it's probably nothing there for me to take. Yeah, 30k for me. A little bit disappointed, but given how everything started for me last season, I was reasonably pleased with that finish. But hoping to be back in the top 10k this season. How did you find? Have you found pre-season and Community Shield? Did you watch Community Shield?
Yeah, unfortunately, I did. Hopefully, it's not too much to take away from that game. I know City didn't have too many of the first 11 out. Yeah, pre-season last year was such a struggle. I know we both finished high in the end, but it was relentless, wasn't it? Games every day. So it was nice to have a bit of a break. Ended up being roped into the Euro Fantasy, beat Mindy again. So it was a nice little setup into the new season. So yeah, coming off a Euro win as well. So yeah, I'm optimistic about new season. Like I said, the first few weeks you're kind of picking similar players, but with Danny Ings moving, Lukaku and Grealish, it adds a bit of excitement to it. And Ivan Toney's new one addition. We don't play too many risks first few weeks, but those are the kind of players who have high upside, and there's going to be lots of teams having them players.
Yeah. I mean, I'm as we said last week, I'm taking no risks in my first draft for game week 1. Maybe a bit later in the season. That's what I've learned from last season. Just to check, have we checked? Are we live on YouTube? Is it live?
We are live, yeah.
We're live.
Go on the top right view on YouTube.
It didn't. Okay, right. Panic over. So first things first. Then, what did you? I was at a stag do over the weekend, so I've seen the result and like some of the talking points, but I didn't actually watch the game. What is there anything you think we should take from the Community Shield for like players that we should consider or now shouldn't consider?
It was a bit of a non-event for me, to be honest. Probably the big standout was Daniel Armati having a solid game. 4 million on FPL. I know everyone likes a £4 million defender. Johnny Evans isn't back for a few weeks, 4 or 5, and people play the wild card early, so he could be someone that teams have early on. Ashley Barnes actually was another one. He looked really direct, and we know how good he was before the injury. another telling point, really.
Harvey Barnes, you mean?
Yeah, Ashley Barnes. Bloody hell. Good start into the live streaming. Don't even know the players. Yeah, Harvey Barnes, sorry. So, yeah, I think he's going to be an interesting option. In terms of Kelechi and Nacho, I know a lot of players have him, but that Community Shield was probably damning because that was probably Leicester's first game of the season, I'd say. Whereas City, there's probably only Mahrez who had a great pre-season, but then didn't turn up for the Community Shield. But he doesn't have too much competition at the moment on the right, especially if Bernardo leaves as expected. So, yeah.
How about Gundogan? I heard he was on some set pieces and stuff in that game.
Yeah, and he was getting forward again like he was last year. I don't know how things will change once De Bruyne is back, which will be interesting. For me, there wasn't too much to take away from City's performance in terms of FPL. Like, I was hoping for a bit more time for Grealish. He got about 20, 25 minutes. He didn't really do much in that time. But I think he will probably start that first game just because there's not too many first teamers back, which will be interesting whether they can hit the ground running. We know it takes players a while to get adjusted to Pep's system, but he might need him to perform early, which at 8 million would be a snip if he's playing every game.
Yeah, it is a good price, that, isn't it? Given the move, priced up as a Villa player, now a City player. The thing I've taken from it is I like you said, I had Iheanacho in my draft last week, so he's gone. And what else? Yeah, the fact that Gundogan's 1.5 million cheaper than Mahrez and his on-set pieces has caught my eye a little bit. But yeah, let's not dwell on the Community Shield then. Non-event, as you say. In terms of injuries, Robertson getting injured has been a bit of a talking point, hasn't it?
Yeah, it looked a nasty one, but he walked off. I only know because I've done my ankle ligaments before, and it was quite a similar situation.
Right.
And the way he bended, like that's not coming back from like next game. I don't think it'll be at least 4 weeks out. There's been no update yet, has there? So who knows? He's probably made sterner stuff than me. But the way it bended was interesting in terms of FPL because obviously
I've seen the way you dive on a 5-side pitch. So certainly made of stronger stuff than you.
All right.
Has it affected your thinking on having a Liverpool defender, Robertson not being there, or are you still keen as mustard on Trent?
I love Trent. I think Trent's probably the most nailed player in my team.
Right.
Just because historically, past 2-3 years now, he's the best fullback FPL by a country mile. He's on set pieces as well, which you don't get often from a fullback. You don't get from too many fullbacks. And maybe Robbo being out, that might give him more appeal going forward because Robbo does share some of the corners with Trent, doesn't he? So maybe Trent's taking them all now, which would be interesting. The other interesting thing is the left back, 4 million. I'll let you pronounce his name, but does he become first option now for 4 million? We know everyone having Nat Phillips towards the end of last season. It's not often you get a team that high up the table with a £4 million like starting defender, which will be interesting.
I don't actually know how to pronounce his name. I'm just going to go with his first name, Konstantinos. So we'll call him that for this one. We'll prep his second name pronunciation for next week. But so I was looking into him a little bit today because obviously 4 million would play him for a few weeks at least, and it seems to be. I've seen like Liverpool fans saying that they think he is going to have that over Milner. But I just don't want to take that risk personally. But I can see why people would go there. Like looking at the drafts on Twitter that people have had, where they've gone for Konstantinos, as we're calling him, over Trent. It means you can go from like Rafinha to Son in midfield. So it does enable quite a bit. It's just I don't think I'm gonna do that. Just in case Milner does get a game or Robertson comes back early because. The international break's only 3 weeks into the season. So that buys Robertson a couple more weeks. So you kind of booking in quite an early transfer, I think, potentially, unless Robertson's out for ages.
Yeah, the thing is with Trent, you're not buying him for a clean sheet. Like, the clean sheets are a bonus. You're buying him for his attacking potential, aren't you? It's not as if you're buying a 4.5 million defender for their clean sheet potential. Like, Trent's goals and assists, and I think clean sheets are a bonus for Trent as compared to the other defenders that you're just buying and hoping the team gets a clean sheet.
Yeah, I suppose you could, if Robertson's out for like 2 months or so, you could have 3 Liverpool assets as Konstantinos, Trent, and Salah, because then at least you could argue that Konstantinos is more nailed than Jota.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I'm until we get some news on Robertson, it's a bit of a moot point, that one, isn't it? I saw something about an injury to Watkins. Is that he's flagged in the game, but I don't actually know what's up with him. Do you know anything about that?
No, the preseason's been a bit weird, especially the last few days, because Tony wasn't playing either, was he, for Brentford? So there's obviously a few question marks going on.
I've just seen on the BBC Sport website about 11 minutes ago 9 new positive COVID tests in the Premier League. So we've got that fun again.
Right, yeah.
So
I think for me anyway, Watkins. I mean, I have to wait for Villa to set up, but for me, Ings takes the precedent over Watkins now, because I think Watkins is going to be shoved out to the left. I could be wrong, but I feel like it would be Watkins, Buendia, and Traore behind Danny Ings. I don't think they've brought Danny Ings to play second fiddle to Watkins. It would be a bit of a weird transfer for me. I think it would be Ings and then Watkins, because one of the highlights of Watkins is his pressure, isn't it, and his intensity. Like, that's one of his strengths. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's put out to the left and Ings up top.
Yeah, no, I think that is probably most likely to happen, isn't it? It's just yesterday, apparently, El Ghazi took the penalty still when Ings was on the pitch, which is a little bit of a shame. Like, you'd hope that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that was the case, would you?
But I guess you could argue that once the season gets going and Buendia and all that are playing, El Ghazi's not going to be playing, so maybe then the penalties will go to Ings. But yeah, I think I'm not sure where I'm going to go into the Villa attack yet until I see how it all pans out.
I've got Danny Ings at the moment. I don't know,
right.
He excites me. Like,
Spoiler.
You just know how good he is in previous years, and that Villa team, even without Grealish, you got Buendia supporting it. I think it's a lot better than that Southampton team, and he scored a hatful, didn't he? So yeah, obviously I'll give away an early spoiler, but I do like that Ings selection, because they got a nice. Is it first 3 fixtures are really nice, and then they have a hard turn, so you can kind of switch him out.
Yeah, he's been in and out for me, Ings. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure. And I guess the other talking point from today is Lukaku. Does that change anything for you, or is that just a wait and see?
Chelsea got a tough start, but I'm one of Lukaku's biggest fans. I think the past few years, Inter Milan has obviously stepped up his game, and I thought the Euros with De Bruyne in and out, Hazard in and out, he was brilliant for Belgium. He was really unlucky not to go further. I think he kind of spearheaded that team, and he showed a level of maturity that he kind of showed that he's progressed since the Premier League. And I do fancy that Chelsea team is all set up now for a striker just to put them away. I know they dominated City in the Champions League final, and if they had a striker then, they probably would have scored a lot more. So for me, I'm intrigued by Lukaku. I think that start for Chelsea probably puts me off a little, but I do like him as an option. For me, it probably depends what he's priced at. Anything under 11, I'm probably all in. I think 11 and above is a question mark. And I probably think they'll price him at 11. I think that's a fair price for him.
Yeah, I think he'll probably just come in very similar to Kane.
Is that 12 mil?
Let's have a quick look. Because I think he was 11 last time when he was at United. So you'd think he'd have gone up since then, given everything you've just said about how his stock's gone up.
Yeah, but new arrivals into the Prem, they always seem to. I suppose he's a Premier League experience, so maybe that's different. But the new arrivals in the past, like Bruno and others, for example, they don't seem to be priced as highly as you'd think, as like the seasoned veterans in the Premier League. But maybe that might be different for Lukaku.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Because I think there's a lot. Basically, there's going to be a lot of. It's going to be quite important with how we set up our game week 1 teams that you can get to either Kane or Lukaku from the cheap strikers everyone's got at the moment. That you basically got a plan to do that, unless you plan into wildcard game week 3. I'm sure we'll talk about that once we actually start going through the drafts. So should we do? Are we ready to get into the drafts? Should we do yours first?
Yeah. Before we do that, we've got a few questions from Fadsley. A few questions on our stream. We got 4 watches on our first stream, which is a plus. Thanks for everyone for joining. And we've got 2 questions from Fadsley. So the first one, I'll direct to you, Mindy. If Kufal and Cresswell are the same price, who would you go for?
If they're the same price, probably Cresswell for the set pieces.
But does the extra 0.5 change things?
Yeah, so I currently have Sufal just to save a bit of money, and I think over the season Cresswell was better, but then towards in the second half of the season, Sufal kind of took over a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I think with the saving, it's hard to. I think Cresswell is probably still worth a bit more with all that with the set piece threat, but given that there is a price saving for Sufal and he can get assists and in open play, makes it's kind of steers me towards Sufal for my own team. How about you?
It was the 5 at the back, didn't it, that really changed it for Sufal. I think that's when he started to rack up the assists towards the back end of the last season. So that'll be interesting to see what they line up with. For me, I do think Sufal has been priced 0.5 cheaper than he should be. I do think he should be 5.5, especially after the first season. So he's nice. He's nicely priced at 5 mil. If they were the same price, it'd be a toss of the coin. But I think, like you, that 0.5 probably sways it.
Yeah, exactly.
Second question is thoughts on Cancello.
He's 5.5, isn't he, Cancello? Or is he 6?
Yeah. Not sure. Obviously done our research. He's 6 mil.
He's 6, right? Yeah, I'm not sold at that price. I think he probably is going to start the season, isn't he? With because Walker will get a bit of time for his exploits at the Euros. But I just don't want that. I don't want that headache, especially at the start, of wondering whether he's going to play or not until we can actually see a pattern of who's playing. Because there was a stage last season where quite a lot of people had Cancello, and that was kind of where you could kind of predict when he was going to get games and stuff. Whereas at the moment, don't really know. And personally, I'm looking more in the expensive defenders. I'm looking more at Trent and Shaw. So fitting in Cancello at 6 is tricky. I think the appeal is his ownership is really low. So for people who are wanting to be more different and take a bit of a risk and go for the upside, like his ownership is currently, I think it's set 7%, which is quite low for a City defender. So I think if you're going to go for a City defender, though, I'd probably just go for DS and be safe.
Yeah, I probably agree with you on that. The only thing that might help Cancello is obviously Walker come off a longer season last year and he played pretty much every minute of the Euros. I mean, he might have not played one game, but he had a very tough season. And I know he's only back training last week, so maybe Cancello does get the first few games. The thing that probably goes against Cancello moving forward is Mendy's back, and he's looked good pre-season. He didn't look too bad at the Community Shield, and he always seems to start the season, Mendy, and then kind of gets injured or falls out of the team one way or another. So I think Mendy might start the season at left back because Zinchenko not been playing either. So yeah, I do think Cancello and Mendy might get the first game, but yeah, it's like you said, £6 million defender. You don't really want the threat of not playing, and it does make Trent and Shaw more attractive for the reasons you say. We've got one more question actually from Peter Lee. Hi Pete. Hi boys, great show. Do you expect Daka to be a regular starter or perhaps use in the Europa League?
I don't expect him to be a regular starter. No, I think it's a bit of a minefield now, isn't it? Leicester's forward line. I'm not really sure if they're going to be playing one top or two, so it's hard. Like this, yeah. I can't say with any level of certainty, but I wouldn't be putting him in any drafts until I've seen him get a few starts in a row. Yeah, definitely.
It looked threatening, didn't it, in the Community Shield when he kept. Well, you obviously not watch it, but he had a shot to the penalty. Someone got tackled and he had a shot that was saved. But yeah, he looked threatening, and I've got a soft spot for him because I had him on my Football Manager save for Crystal Palace, and he fired me into the Europa League. So he comes with a soft spot for me, and I do think he probably will be kind of used for the Europa League this season, and then the season after he'll probably take over Vardy because Vardy's 34 now. But this is probably they'd probably be wanting him season, don't they, to learn off Vardy, play the Europa League, get familiarised with Premier League. But maybe next year is the season where he really hits form. But he's got great talent, and I wouldn't be surprised if we know Kelechi emerging last year. You don't know who the surprise package is going to be, do you? So it could be him.
Yeah, I mean, if one of Vardy or Iheanacho gets injured for a spell, then that would certainly take notice. It's just with all three of them fit, it's hard to go for one of them at the moment.
Cool.
I can't actually get to the questions here. I can't see them, but is there any more?
No, that's it.
Right.
I think I might be able to share my screen. Do you want to go through your team first, or?
Yeah, sure. So are we going to split this into two later, or shall I end mine and then we intro into yours again, or are you going to upload them as both in one?
I'll just upload it as both. It's fine.
Okay. All right. So yeah, my team, just a second. I've got a feeling it's going to end up being because I'm doing it very boring this year. Missionary Mindy. It's got a feeling we might be quite similar, but let's see. So goalkeepers. I've got Sanchez from Brighton, and then Foster from Watford. Cheap and cheerful goalkeepers. I'm not rotating. I'm just gonna set and forget with Brighton until our wild card. I just think it's just a recipe for disaster, trying to pick, and you just end up with points on your bench, which happened to so many people last season. And then defenders, Alexander Arnold. We've talked a lot about him already. Soufal. In response to questions, we've just explained why we prefer Soufal over Cresswell. West Ham have nice fixtures. He's got a bit of attacking threat, and they can be good for a clean sheet, West Ham. And then I've got Luke Shaw. I'm not actually. I think of my main three defenders, Luke Shaw is the one that I'm unsure of, but no pun intended. That's annoying. But yeah, for the price and for the fixtures that United open with, he's got set pieces as well. He gets forward. He didn't seem to get enough assists for the amount of crosses and passes he was putting into the box last season, but hopefully he gets more this season. And then for the cheap spots, I've got the boy Amati that you mentioned before, just as a 4 million budget one to stick last on my bench. And then first on my bench for the defenders, I've got Veltman from Brighton. Brighton's fixtures are quite good. He's going to be first on my bench for the first couple of weeks. I think Sanchez is starting, so I don't want to be doubled on Brighton. But XG champions Brighton, can't go wrong with one of theirs. I think Veltman showed he had quite a bit of a attacking threat last season as well. So hopefully, if I need him off the bench, might be some points there from him. And then into the midfield, I'm actually in this current draft. I've got 5 in midfield. So I've got Salah's the first one. Not going without Salah. I don't think anybody. I'm not seeing anybody going without Salah. So yeah.
After last season went so well without Salah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very stupid man, but even I am learning from that mistake. So yeah, for those who are watching who didn't follow us last year, started without Salah. 35 points, 30 points down on everyone within 1 week. I think by the end of the season, that was what the gap was between me and you, it's like 30 points or something like that. So yeah, I'm not taking any stupid gambles like that in the first half of the season. Fernandez, similar reasons, not taking a gamble on that. And in terms of what we were talking about before, in terms of wanting maybe to get from a cheap striker to Kane or Lukaku, if those moves happen, having two premiums in midfield, two of the most expensive players in the game, that kind of means you can do that in with one hit, which is always a good thing to do in terms of team structure. So I don't think I'm going to move from having Salah and Fernandez for those reasons. Rafinha I just think he's a great price at Leeds. He should have had a lot more points last season. A lot of chances he put on for Bamford got missed, but I think this season he's fully bedded in. Bamford will have a bit more confidence. Leeds looked more solid and more assured as they went on last season. So he's pretty much nailed in my team as well, I think. And then the two I'm unsure of in this 5-man midfield are Harvey Barnes and Gundogan. They've come in over the last 24 hours. The reason I'm unsure is that you've just been saying, the Community Shield was a non-event. We shouldn't take too much from it. Whereas I've put them in since that. So yeah, I might reflect on that after this. But currently that's what I've got. Before that, I had Mahrez in, and it was a 3-4-3. But if Gundogan does have set pieces and he's going to be playing that role where he was bagging loads of goals last season when De Bruyne wasn't playing, I think for that price, he's good to start the season with at the moment. So yeah, and then my strikers are Antonio. I think I'm a bit hesitant with his injury record, but he's looked okay in pre-season. So hopefully he can get through to wildcard time, which will probably be like 5-6 weeks in, without picking up a knock. And then the second striker is changing a lot, but currently it's Wilson. I just think it's been Tony before this, but I just like the sort of tried and tested nature of Wilson. Even though he plays for Newcastle, when Newcastle were awful last season, he was still getting points. He's on pens. I just like. I can move to them one of the 6.5 strikers if they take off. So I think I'm going to start with. It'll either be Wilson or Ings. If I can find 0.5 somewhere, I might go to Ings instead. But at the moment, it's Antonio and Wilson. And then it's just a 4.5 filler for my third striker, Obafemi. Any thoughts?
Might play, although Southampton agreed a fee with, is it Armstrong in the second division from Blackburn? So he probably won't play. No, good team. Interesting that you've got two flaky hamstrings up front in Antonio and Wilson. You're a short trip to the physio room away from a season ender there for yourself. But other than that, I think it's a strong team. I do like that Harvey Barnes pick. What price is it? Is he 6.5?
7.
Right, yeah. So he's probably priced as he should be. But yeah, I do like him as that pick. But other than that, yeah. It's interesting that you've gone for no risky picks this year after a few interesting shouts last year. You've played it safe, Mr. Missionary. But no, solid team, mate.
Yeah, so the only thing that might change is whether if I go to 4-4-2, which is what I had yesterday, then I'd have like a Luka Dean or someone, and then go back to having Mahrez and change Barnes to a 4.5 midfielder like Gilmore or Brownhill, someone like that. So yeah, that's probably going to be the main decision this week. And then also, deciding on the strikers. I think deciding the strikers is the hardest bit for me because they're all kind of around a similar price, but they all kind of have a problem. Like for Ings, the problem is like he's not got a great injury record himself. He's in a new team. We're not really sure how that's going to gel. Antonio, you just mentioned, injury record's awful. Wilson's injury record isn't great. He plays for a bad team. And even Tony, who a lot of people have, for me, it's just I don't really like to start with players from promoted teams. I kind of just like to see how that pans out and then go for them a bit later on once you know which teams have settled into the league the best. So I think the striker slots are the hardest for me at the moment.
No, interesting. Before I move on to my team, we've got a question from Lucas. So he's saying, would you rather play Tony Sufal with Veltman on the bench or Antonio and Veltman with Armati on the bench? And for that reason, would you say the second option, you don't want Tony?
I mean, the one with Amati on the bench sounds the best of those two.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, you don't want players that can score goals on your bench, really, which it sounded like what the first one was.
Veltman was on the bench the first one.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, he's not a goal scorer, but and yeah, he's a better option to have in your first 11 than Amati, I think, because he does have he is a fullback that gets forward.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll agree with that one. And then another question again from Fadsley. Wilson, Ings, Antonio, ranked from best to worst. So I'll go first with that one. I'll probably say Antonio, Ings, Wilson for me. I don't know. You've obviously got Antonio and Wilson, so you'd have Ings just below them too, I guess.
Well, no. Well, if Ings was the same price, he'd probably be Ings is a bit more, isn't he? If Ings was the same price, Ings would be the top option, I think. It's just the fact that yeah, I've just gone for the two 7.5s in my current draft. But yeah, if we're not considering price, it would be, for me, it'd be Ings, Antonio, Wilson. So, by the way, seeing as we've done these questions in the middle, I reckon we might as well try to do these team videos as two separate ones for YouTube.
Yeah, so, I can just edit with the white when I do mine. It's fine. What's your plan? Again from Fadsley. What's your plan with City game against Norwich? Are you going without City assets? For me, I'm going to try and get one in, whether it's Grealish or Mahrez. You've got Gundogan. I think you've got to have one for that Norwich game because it's an easy captain choice. And then you got to play Pep Roulette, obviously. But
have you got any bad memories from the Norwich game early in last season, the Pookie party?
Oh yeah, well yeah, 2 seasons ago. Yeah,
2 seasons ago, 2-1 to Norwich.
I almost erased that from my memory.
Yeah,
it will be interesting to see how City start actually, because obviously very slow at the weekend. Whether that lingers onto the Premier League. I know last year we were very slow to start, so it will be interesting to see City teams how they kind of start them.
Started slow.
Games, really.
Started slow last season as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I was just saying that. Yeah, and then they've obviously had a bit of a hamper pre-season, whereas teams like Liverpool, they've had their front three and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Should probably say, like, yeah, you're a City fan. I'm a United fan for people who are listening. I'm similarly, I'm not really sure how United are going to start. Cavani not being fit for game week 1 was a bit of a shame, but doesn't seem to have reported back for training. Or he might have gone back into training today. I'm not sure. So yeah, as you say, Liverpool kind of look best set at the moment, don't they? The big clubs.
Yeah.
So let's should we get into your team?
Yeah, I'm gonna try share my screen. It's giving me the option, but I don't know if it'll work. Window share. Is that popped up for you?
Yeah, it's very small. I don't know if people will be able to see that on YouTube.
Let's try and... Looks alright, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We'll try and see if we can share yours next time. And I'll run through my team. Probably better to give... Probably easy for people to read if we go through it. So, yeah, keeper like you, Sanchez. I think he's the 4.5. I was just saying on a podcast the other week, the other day actually, that I always go 4.5 keeper. Martinez was obviously one last year, Pope the year before, and Sanchez or someone else will probably emerge as that 4.5. There's not too many this year, so I'm kind of do hope that it's him. But I think lots of players are going to go with Sanchez. And then my defence to start with, got Trent, Shaw, which 2 nailed for me. I know Shaw's not played too much preseason, but 5.5. I thought he would have been priced higher than that, to be honest. I would have put him at 6 or a bit or 6.5 potentially, just because of the way he finished the season. He was so attacking. And they've obviously got Sancho now on the right, which kind of negates Wan-Bissaka a bit, but I think he was signed to help Wan-Bissaka anyway. I don't think Wan-Bissaka's attacking potential is going to be too much this year. I think Sancho will be told to stay forward, whereas Shaw will bomb on that left wing. So I don't think I see any like hindrance to having as an FPL option. I've just got a Marty defense for the first game, that Wolves fixture. Not sure what to think of Wolves this year. I know last year they weren't too great, but they've also got Raul back. He's probably one to keep an eye on, actually, because he's an FPL favourite from the past, isn't he? But you don't know how he's going to respond to that injury. So he's probably one to keep an eye on. But the first game, probably start with Amati. Then the midfield, I did have Mahrez, but he might still be Mahrez instead of Grealish. My only reason for having Grealish was if he does start that first game and score or assist, then every Tom, Dick and Harry's going to have him. So it's whether I get ahead of the curve before the price rise comes. But I was tempted to go Grealish and Mahrez at one point, but it might be quite difficult to get him in. But that's the reason I've gone Grealish. Rafinha, just love watching Leeds. I know they've got a tough start against United and then a few other tough games, but you fancy Leeds to score against anyone, don't you? And you kind of want, with Bamford now at 8 million, he seems like the right option into that Leeds attack once they do start scoring. And they're another team who I don't think they've had too many players away for the Euros. I think they have Callum and Phillips, but not too many other than that. So you do fancy them to hit the ground running, and maybe they might cause a shock against United because United have got a few players missing. So yeah, I think Rafinha at 6.5 is one of the best options out there. And then Salah, Fernandes, obviously there's debate going whether brew yes or brew no. We talked about it, didn't we, on the first podcast? But I think for me, you've got to have him with them fixtures: Leeds, Southampton, Wolves, Newcastle, and then if he's not doing great, then obviously transfer him out, wildcard him out. But I think the first 4 games, I think that free kick might have helped him friendly, unbelievable free kick. But I think for me, yeah, and he's a captaincy candidate for that second game against Southampton. Depending on that City Norwich, is what coming from that one of them 2 games. So for me, Fernandes. And then talked about Danny Ings. I do like them first 3 games: Watford, Newcastle, Brentford, and I do think that Watkins might be shipped out to the left and Ings up top. No doubt Ings will start on the bench first game now, but I just think he's a clinical player. He doesn't need many chances to score. He's a bit like Heung-min Son in that sense, that you kind of, if you throw and goal, you fancy him to net it. So that's the reason I've gone them for them 3 nice games, and then probably transfer him out regardless because Aston Villa's fixtures fall off a cliff. So yeah, first 3 punt there. Antonio, yeah, he's a bit of a talisman now for West Ham, isn't he? Like, he's probably the only source of points, really. People talked about Bowen potentially, but with Lingard gone, he's probably the main source of punts for West Ham now. So yeah, like yourself, Antonio. And then Tony, I just think, I know you talked about promoted clubs, you don't want to go too early on them, but Brentford were an attacking team. He got 33 goals last season. And we know Pookie, years gone past. Bamford last year, it took him a couple of games, but then he soon started flying. I just think that 6.5 is quite a nice value for him. And he's probably another one like Antonio. If Brentford score, you kind of fancy it to be him. There won't be too many goals coming elsewhere. And then bench, Foster, who I've seen played a few Watford games, so he might be an actual starter at 4 mil. And then White, 4.5. I was reading, it might have been Big Man Backer. Arsenal's defence from the turn of the year, January, I think they had the best defence or second best defence behind Chelsea in the league. And Ben White, £50 million. He's going to be playing every game. He's a brilliant defender. And he's probably one of them where he's not probably going to score too many points, might get a couple of bonus points, but 4.5, if Arsenal start getting clean sheets, then he's a great option. And then Veltman for reasons like yourself, and then Gilmour 4.5. Either him or probably Brownhill will be who I go for there. I think in terms of am I settled or not, probably Mahrez is still someone in the edge of my thoughts just because of that nice second game against Norwich. But there's not too many other things that might change there. Potentially Digne might go there, but Everton a bit naff. I do think that 5.5 is attractive though.
The thing with Digne for me is that under Rafa, will he actually get forward as much? Like from what I remember of Rafa teams, the fullbacks don't really bomb on. They sort of stay in their own half, which puts me off until I see otherwise, I think.
Yeah, potentially. Probably one of them, innit? Wait and see for Digne, like a few others. Maybe he might shut down the right hand side. He might be given the license to go on the left. Because I think when you got such a creative fullback like him and his delivery's so good, crossing's brilliant. I think even someone like Rafa, who's probably defence first, he probably might see the value in Digne. He might even switch to 5 at the back. We know Conte, defensive manager, he saw the value of Marcus Alonso, didn't he? He played 5 at the back and he was brilliant that season, won the title. So he might do something similar there. I think if you're playing defensive with Digne, you kind of lose him a bit. So, because that's what he's in the team for. He's an all right defender, but he's in the team because he's a great attacker, isn't he? So, yeah, I can probably see him being in my team in stages throughout the season, but whether I start with him or not, probably not.
So, is Grealish in your team now because of the Foden news and him being not fit for the start? Or do you just... Because I wasn't sure whether he... Because in previous seasons, when Pep signs someone, he does bed them in, doesn't he? Whereas, do you think now, because of the doubts over so many of the preferred options, that Grealish is just going to be thrown in from the start?
Yeah, like say Sane, Bernardo, off the top of my head, a few others do take a while to bed in under Pep, but I just think with the Foden injury, with Bernardo leaving, they might need more from him right away. And obviously the price tag, although I don't think the price tag will affect Pep too much, but obviously if you're signing a £100 million player and he's on the bench for a season, it's not going to look too great. So I kind of fancy him to hit the ground running a bit more than the other players. I could be wrong, but more out of necessity than anything else, just because, like you say, we've not got too many players back. Sterling's first training session was on Monday, so yeah, he might change to Mahrez, but I just think that 8 million is just such a nice price. If he signed for City before FPL released, he wouldn't be 8 million, would he? So that's what's kind of tempted me in there.
Yeah. So, and you think he's worth the extra over Gundogan?
In terms of 0.5, yeah, in my opinion, anyway.
Fair play, short and sweet answer there.
No, I just think, you know how good he was last year for Aston Villa until he got injured. Like, you kind of forget because he was injured for so long. Obviously, the Dean Smith quotes, I live in a real world, not a fantasy world. But in terms of when FPL kind of knew how long he was out for and Dean Smith was downplaying it. But he was probably the best player in the league up until he got injured, wasn't he? You kind of think, and put him in the best team in the country, Premier League champions. He could be just make a mockery of his price tag, or he could start really slow. You just don't know.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just I'm just a bit more confident of Gundogan playing from the start. Gundogan or Mahrez, I'm not 100% on whether he'll, as you say, he only got 10 minutes the other day. I don't know whether he'll be getting 90 from the start. But I mean, hopefully Pep gives some information in his presses and we get some news this week. The only other question I had about your team was that is Tony on pens for Brentford?
Yes.
Do we know that? Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Right. Because I do know that because I was reading the 4-4-2 season preview actually. Most of his goals came from penalties. Well, just under half. And he was actually nicknamed Penal Tony in the Championship. So,
wow, you've done some reading, you've done some prep for once.
About time.
So yeah, well, we have got quite a few similar players, but it's not as similar as I thought. So at least there'll be something to talk about once we get into game week 1.
Yeah, it's a nice little option, that sharing screen, isn't it? Something to work on going forward.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it looks on YouTube after this.
Got one question about a team from Lucas. Well, he's gone through his team. He's just asking for tips. So he's got Sanchez, Foster, like me and you. Looks like he's been watching. He's been watching your screen, mate. Trent, Shaw, White, Veltman with Armati on the bench. Then Salah, Fernandez, Son. We've not talked about Son, have we? Rafinha with Brownhill on the bench, and then Ings, Antonio, Obafemi. I really like that team. It's really nice. Son's an interesting one, isn't it? He scored against Arsenal yesterday or the day before, and obviously with Kane out, he's going to have stronger impetus.
He's been playing up front, hasn't he, in pre-season? I think, from what I've read. So yeah, he is a great shout. The first game's obviously tough, but he does actually seem to come up trumps quite often in big games. He scored against City last season, so yeah,
he's a bit of a bogey player for City. Actually, he scored the Champions League quarterfinal where they beat us. Yeah, he was brilliant in that.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like he's got a lot of similar players. So yeah, good team. Son's just difficult for me to fit in with the price, and yeah, the fact that if Tottenham didn't have a new manager, I'd be more confident in going for him. It's just yeah, I'm not really sure with Nuno how it's all gonna work. So yeah, he's definitely in my thoughts though. He's probably the one that I'm looking at for like game week 3, 4. Son.
Yeah. He's always a great FPL option, wasn't it? At the start of last season, him and Kane. Just what effect Kane potentially leaving might have. I know Tottenham are linked with Lautaro Martinez, aren't they? But he might relish that, being Kane leaving. You never know. Some might relish that as like the talisman of Spurs. It might even make him better as an FPL asset. You just don't know.
He'll probably get pens, won't he?
Yeah, he'll want to be the centre of attention, won't he?
So yeah, it could actually work better for him. He's always done well in the past when Kane's been injured. He's always stepped up. So yeah, definitely want to watch. Yeah, I liked that team. I guess we were both going to like it, seeing as so many of the players were the same.
Yeah, it's just a nice little way of getting Son in there, and it's something different that we've not thought about.
Thanks everyone for the questions. If you're not following us, plug again the Twitter account where we share what we're doing most of the time. So that's premium_FPL, and the same again for Instagram. We'll get the links into the description on YouTube after this, so you can easily go and follow us everywhere. Anything else we need to mention? iTunes. If you've got an iPhone, or you know someone with an iPhone, if you can leave us a nice review on iTunes, that'd be much appreciated. We need to do that thing that live YouTubers do, mate. We need to tell people to smash the like button and subscribe.
Smash like and subscribe. Yeah, that would be much appreciated.
I think that can be your job every week. It's a bit cringe for me to say that. Smash like and subscribe. So I'll leave that one with you.
Sounds like you're what you do on your Tinder profile, mate.
Smash like and subscribe. Interesting. Yeah, that's what my bio says on Tinder. Yeah. Smash like and subscribe. And then in terms of what's coming up, we'll hopefully be back Wednesday. If we've made any tinkers to drafts, we'll go through them. Last minute panics, if there's any transfers that go through tomorrow, news of who's got positive COVID tests, etc. There'll be a bit of fun to come this week, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks all for listening. Thanks for your questions. Well, yeah, we'll see you on Wednesday.
Nice one.